Thank God. This incredible HFY masterpiece found you today. Witness the legend starting now. General Vexstar roared. The sound filled the arena. A noise of pure rage and disbelief that made several smaller aliens cover their ears. He was a general. A decorated warrior who had fought in wars across 20 star systems. He was not supposed to be lying on the floor, held down by a creature that weighed less than one of his legs. He pushed against the mat with his free hand, trying to lift his massive body. Taimen simply leaned back, slightly changing the angle of pressure on the trapped arm. The general's armor creaked louder. A hairline crack appeared in one of the plates near his elbow joint. Music. Release me. Vexstar's voice shook with fury and something else. Something he had never felt before in combat. Release me this instant. Music. Taimen's expression didn't change. His face was calm, almost peaceful, despite the blood still dripping from his split lip. Apologize first. I am a general of the Coalition Strike Division. I will have you executed for this. The pressure increased by the smallest amount. Just a fraction more force precisely applied. The crack in the armor spread. Inside that armor, the general's joint was bending past the point where Krell anatomy was meant to flex. Pain shot up his arm, sharp, music, and bright. Park Dabin watched from above, her hands gripping the observation rail so hard her knuckles turned white. She wanted to tell Taimen to stop, to release the general before this went any further. But she also knew her friend. Once Taimen committed to something, he saw it through to the end. It was one of the things that made him an excellent soldier. It was also one of the things that might get him killed today. Instructor Velka stood frozen, his 6 arms hanging uselessly at his sides. His hand hovered near the communication panel, ready to call security. But he didn't press the button. Part of him was afraid that interrupting might make things worse. Another part, a part he would never admit out loud, was deeply curious to see how this ended. Shin Borum had moved closer, her medical, music, scanner already in hand. She was reading Taimen's vital signs from where she stood. His heart rate was elevated but controlled. His breathing was music, steady. Whatever was happening inside his body, he was managing it. She had studied human physiology extensively since joining the academy, fascinated by how differently human bodies responded to stress compared to other species. What she was seeing now was something called the adrenaline response. When humans faced danger, their bodies flooded with chemicals that changed how they functioned. Pain decreased. Strength increased. Time seemed to slow down. It was an ancient survival mechanism from when humans hunted animals, much larger than themselves on Earth. Other species had similar responses, but humans had refined theirs through millions of years of being both predator and prey on one of the galaxy's most dangerous worlds. General Vexstar thrashed again, using every bit of his considerable strength. The mat beneath them cracked. Music. The general's muscles bulged against his armor, and Taimen held firm, his smaller body using angles and leverage that made strength almost irrelevant. How is this possible? Vexstar's voice had changed. The anger was still there, but now fear mixed with it. Real fear. Music. What are you? I'm human. Taimen replied simply. This is what we, music, do. You're bigger and stronger, but you've never had to learn how to fight something bigger and stronger than you. We've never fought anything smaller and weaker than us. Every predator on our world was faster, stronger, had better teeth, better claws. We survived anyway. This is how. Era music. The general tried a different approach. Instead of pushing up, he tried to pull his arm back, attempting to drag Taimen, music, with him. Taimen rode the movement like a surfer on a wave, maintaining perfect balance and control. He shifted his weight, and the pressure on the general's arm increased again. A sound came from inside the armor, something between a crack and a pop. Not quite breaking, but close. Very close. I'm sorry. The words exploded from Vexstar's mouth. I'm sorry, please. You're going to break it. The arena went completely silent. Cadets who had been watching in shocked fascination now looked away, embarrassed for the general. In Krell culture, admitting pain was shameful. Begging for mercy was unthinkable. But here was General Vexstar, of music, one of the most feared warriors in the Coalition military, begging a human cadet to release him. Taimen held the position for one more second, not to be cruel, but to make sure the lesson was learned. Then he released the general's arm and stepped back quickly, his hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. Vexstar scrambled away, moving faster than anyone had ever seen him move. He cradled his arm against his chest, music, his yellow eyes wide and showing white around the edges. He looked at Taimen the way someone might look at a dangerous animal that had just reminded them why it was dangerous. For several long seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The training arena had become a frozen tableau of shock and disbelief. Then the doors burst open again. Admiral Corvan entered with a full security team behind him. The Admiral was the Xian, a species known for their logical minds and strict adherence to rules. He was tall and thin with grey skin and too many joints in his limbs. His face was angular, all sharp lines and calculating eyes. What is the meaning of this? His voice cut through the silence like a blade. I received an emergency alert from this training arena. Instructor. Velka finally found his voice. Sir, there was an incident. Cadet Han Taimen assaulted General Vexstar. The Admiral's eyes moved from the instructor to the general, who was still on the floor cradling his arm, then to Taimen, who stood calmly with blood on his face and his hands still raised. Music. Cadet Han Taimen. The Admiral said, his voice formal and cold. You are under arrest for assaulting a superior officer. Security, take him into custody. Two guards moved forward. They were both Krell, though smaller than Vexstar. They approached Taimen cautiously, music, having just witnessed what he could do. But Taimen didn't resist. He lowered his hands slowly and allowed them to place restraints on his wrists. Park Dabin couldn't stay silent. Music. Anymore. Admiral, please. The general struck Taimen first. We all saw it. He was defending himself. Music. The Admiral raised one long-fingered hand. The security footage will be reviewed. Until then, the cadet will be held in music detention. Take him away. As the guards led Taimen toward the exit, he passed by Park Dabin and the other human cadets. His friend looked at him with tears in her eyes, terrified of what would happen next. But Taimen gave her a small nod. Everything would be okay. Music. Or if it wouldn't be okay, he had at least stood up for himself and for all humans. Music. Sometimes that was more important than being safe. The other human cadets watched him go. Then one by one, they stood at attention. Not the casual attention of academy students, but the rigid formal attention of soldiers honoring one of their own. It spread through the human section like a wave. The message was clear to everyone in the arena. Taimen had acted for all of them. Whatever happened to him now, he hadn't just defended himself. He had defended humanity's honor. As Taimen disappeared through the doors, General Vexstar finally pulled himself to his feet. His arm hung at an awkward angle, definitely damaged even if not broken. His pride was hurt even worse than his body. He looked around the arena at the faces staring at him. He saw pity in some, music, eyes, disgust in others. Worst of all, he saw fear in the eyes of his fellow Krell. They were looking at him the way they might look at a warrior who had lost his edge, who was no longer fit to lead. This is not over, he said, his voice trying to regain its commanding tone. That human will pay for what he, music, did. But everyone in the arena knew the truth. Something had shifted today. The balance of respect and fear that maintained the hierarchy of the coalition military had changed. Humans, who everyone had dismissed as weak and fragile, had just demonstrated something terrifying. They might not be the strongest. They might not be the fastest, but they were the most dangerous when cornered. In the detention area, Taimen sat alone in a cell designed for dangerous prisoners. Energy barriers hummed around him, capable of containing even the most violent criminals. He sat on the simple metal bench and finally allowed himself to feel the pain in his face. His jaw throbbed. His eye was swelling shut. His lips still bled slowly, but he was calm. He had done the right thing. He had followed coalition regulations. Music. And most importantly, he had shown every alien in that arena that humans weren't victims. They were survivors. Music. They were warriors. They were not to be dismissed or bullied. Music. The communication panel near his cell activated. Park Dabin's face appeared on the screen. She must have pulled strings to get through to him so quickly. Music. Taimen, are you okay? I'm fine, Dabin. Just bruised. Just bruised. You put a general on the floor. Music. Do you know what they could do to you? They could execute me. Taimen said calmly. But they won't. They'll review the footage. Music. They'll see he struck me first. Coalition law is clear on self-defense. And if they decide differently? If they decide to make an example of you? Taimen smiled, though it hurt his split lip. Then every human in the galaxy will know that I defended myself when an alien general attacked me. They'll know I didn't back down. That's worth whatever happens next. Park Dabin wiped her eyes. You're either the bravest person I know or the most stupid. Can't it be both? Despite everything, she laughed. It was a short, slightly hysterical laugh, but it was something. The whole Admiral Corvan sat in his office watching the security footage for the 7th time. His office was simple and clean with windows that looked out into the darkness of space. Stars glittered beyond the glass, cold and distant. Right now, he felt as cold as those stars. On the screen, he watched General Vexstar strike Cadet Han Taimen. He watched the human stagger but not fall. He watched Taimen smile that terrible smile. Then he watched the human move faster than the camera could properly track, taking down a warrior 3 times his size in less than 3 seconds. The Admiral paused the video and rubbed his temples. He had been commander of Celestial Summit Station for 15 years. In all that time, he had never seen anything quite like this. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Enter. Instructor. Velka came in followed by General Vexstar. The general's arm was in a medical brace. The blue armor removed to allow for treatment. Without his armor, he looked smaller, more vulnerable. His face was drawn with pain and something darker. Shame. General, are you well enough to provide your statement? The Admiral asked. I am functional. Vexstar replied stiffly. Good. Tell me exactly what happened in the training arena. The general shifted uncomfortably. The human cadets completed an exercise that a Krell team had, music, previously failed. I questioned their methods. The cadet Han Taimen responded with insubordination. I administered discipline. Music. Admiral Corvan played the video. The sound of the strike was clear and loud. This is discipline. By Krell standards, music, it was a light correction. By human standards, it was assault that could have killed him. The Admiral's voice was cold. You struck a cadet without cause during a training exercise. This violates Coalition Regulation 447C. The human showed disrespect. The human answered your question honestly and respectfully. I've watched this footage 7 times. General. There is no disrespect in his words or tone. The Admiral leaned forward. What I see is an officer allowing personal prejudice to override his judgment. Vex's face darkened with anger, but he said nothing. What could he say? The footage showed the truth clearly. Explain to me how a second-year cadet was able to defeat you in hand-to-hand combat. The Admiral continued. I was not defeated. He used trickery and you begged him for mercy. I heard you. Every cadet in that arena heard you. The Admiral's voice cut like ice. How did this happen? The general was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer, almost confused. I don't know. I'm faster than him, stronger than him. But when I reached for him, he moved. Then I was on the ground and couldn't get up. Every time I tried to rise or escape, the pain increased. It was like fighting smoke. I couldn't grasp him properly. Admiral Corvan turned to his computer and pulled up a file. I've been reading about human combat techniques. It seems we fundamentally misunderstood their species. Music. They come from what we classify as a Category 12 death world. Do you know what that means? It means their planet is dangerous, Velka offered. It means their planet spent millions of years trying to kill them. Humans evolved alongside predators that were bigger, music, faster, and stronger than they were. They survived not through physical advantages, but through intelligence, endurance, and the ability to defeat larger opponents. The Admiral pulled up images of Earth's animals: lions, bears, crocodiles. These creatures all hunted humans at various points in their evolution. Humans had no natural armor, no claws, no venom. So, they learned to fight smart instead of strong. He showed a video of human martial arts. Fighters throwing opponents twice their size. Joint locks, leverage techniques, pressure points. While your people evolved to be the strongest on your world, humans evolved to defeat the strongest on theirs. They developed hundreds of fighting systems, music, over thousands of years, all designed around one principle: how to beat someone bigger and stronger than you. Vexstar watched the screen, his expression complicated. I had no idea. None of us did. We accepted humans into the coalition because they showed promise. We tested their intelligence, their technology, their willingness to cooperate. We never properly evaluated their combat capabilities because they seemed physically weak. The Admiral closed the files. We made assumptions. Those assumptions were wrong. Another knock on the door. This time, it was Ambassador Cho Minute-ho from Earth's diplomatic corps. He was an older human with grey hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind him came two other humans in formal uniforms. "Admiral, thank you for seeing me on short notice," the ambassador said politely. "Ambassador, I assume you're here about Cadet Han Taimen." "I am. I'd like to request his immediate release and the dismissal of all charges." General Vexstar stood up straighter, his face hardening. "The human assaulted me." "He cannot simply General Vexstar," the ambassador interrupted smoothly. "You struck first. Coalition law is very clear on self-defense. My government has reviewed the footage. Cadet Han used appropriate defensive force against an unprovoked assault." "Appropriate? He could have broken my arm." "He could have," the ambassador agreed. "He chose not to. Human combat doctrine emphasizes control and minimal necessary force. The cadet showed remarkable restraint, given that you attacked him hard. Enough to fracture his cheekbone." The Admiral looked at the general. "Is this true? You fractured his facial bones?" "I did not intend to cause such injury." "By Krell standards, by coalition standards," the ambassador cut in. "You assaulted a cadet and caused significant bodily harm. The fact that you didn't intend to kill him doesn't make it legal." Admiral Corvan stood up from his desk and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. For a long moment, he said nothing. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "Ambassador, I need to understand something." Cadet Han's response was instantaneous and extremely effective. "Is this level of training standard for humans entering coalition military service?" "Yes," the ambassador replied. "Every human you see in this academy has already completed basic military training on Earth. They know hand-to-hand combat, music, a weapons training, survival skills, and tactical operations. We consider this the minimum preparation for military service." "And the other human cadets? They all have this training?" "Every single one. It's prerequisite for acceptance to off-world assignments." The Admiral processed this information. The Coalition had 50 human cadets, currently enrolled at Celestial Summit Station. 50 trained fighters who everyone had, dismissed as weak because they didn't have armored skin or enhanced strength. "We've been evaluating humans incorrectly," he said finally. "We've been comparing you to other species based on raw physical capabilities. But that's not where your strength lies, is it?" "No, Admiral," the ambassador said. "Our strength is adaptation, endurance, and tactical thinking. We learned long ago that we couldn't outrun the lion or outfight the bear. So, we learned to outsmart them both." General Vexstar spoke up, his voice quieter than before. "In the moment when I was on the ground, unable to rise, I felt something I've never felt in combat. It wasn't fear of pain or death. It was fear of something patient. The human would have held that position until my arm separated from my body if necessary. He wasn't angry. He wasn't afraid. He was simply waiting for me to understand my situation. That patience was more terrifying than any rage I've ever faced." The ambassador nodded slowly. "Music. That's an accurate description of human combat psychology. We are persistence predators. General. On Earth, humans would chase prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. We don't give up. We don't stop. We keep coming until we win or we die. Music. That mindset translates into everything we do, including combat. A long silence filled the office. Admiral Corvan finally turned from the window. I need to convene the Academy Council immediately. This situation has implications far beyond one cadet and one general. He looked at Vexstar. General, you will provide full testimony. Ambassador, your presence will be required as well. Within an hour, the council chamber was filled with representatives from a dozen species. The atmosphere was tense. News of the incident had spread through the station like wildfire. Everyone had an opinion. Music. Many were demanding that Taimen be executed as an example. Others, particularly some of the smaller species, were quietly pleased to see a Krell general humbled. Admiral Corvan called the session to order. We are here to address the incident between General Vexstar and Cadet Han Taimen. Both parties will have the opportunity to present their perspective. However, I want to remind everyone that we will be following coalition law, not personal feelings or species loyalty. The Krell delegation immediately demanded harsh punishment. This human attacked a general officer. Such insubordination cannot be tolerated. Ambassador Cho Minutho stood calmly. With respect, the human defended himself against an unprovoked assault. Let me present the facts. He projected the security footage onto the main screen. Every angle was visible. The strike, the takedown, the restraint. The council chamber fell silent as the footage played again. Every member watched carefully. Some had already seen it, but watching it in T,